Hey everybody, this is David Olkowetsky with Artisan Revere. We are diverging from our usual way of doing this, which is me doing individualized videos, but as you can see, this is just one batch out of 3 that I need to get out the door and that I've already QC'd, that I've already spent anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes on personally to make sure that they're all in as close to perfect condition as possible. So these are your knives. I'm gonna just do a QC inspection on one knife, one chef knife that I pick at random, and know that the QC inspection is exactly the same for all knives. Before any knife goes out the door, I just do one final strop on this chrome oxide loaded leather strop, and that's just to make sure that any residual leather, so there's little leather particles on the inside of these sheaths, comes off. By the way, we'll get to that in a little bit later in this video, but I recommend putting a little bit of food grade mineral oil on your knife before you store it. Alexa, turn off my alarm. Sorry about that. That's my I need to move my car alarm. We're in New York City and double parking. We all double park for an hour and a half, but that's neither here nor there. So let's just jump into the QC inspection. We'll just use this already. Let's get a fresh piece of paper. Sorry, folks, not as prepared as I usually am for these videos. I apologize. Okay, here we go. Let's make sure this knife is nice and wicked sharp. Yep. Let's check the tip. Beautiful. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so this knife is brilliantly sharp. I can hear as I'm cutting it that it's nice and toothy, which is how I like. I'm also gonna cross-reference by going through my fingernail. Really, really toothy. I love that edge. It's beautiful. It's perfect. Okay, let's do the rest of the inspection. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check that the pins are nice and flush. They are. Next, I'm gonna inspect to make sure there's no gaps between the, in this case, maple, Richlight, the G10, and the Tang. There aren't any. I'm checking the front of the handle, make sure that's nice and soft. It is. I'm checking the grip overall to make sure it feels good in hand. It does. We started doing a little bit of a texture on all of the handles, so it's a 30,000th of an inch step over all throughout the handle with the exception of the profile. Okay, so that's really nice. Next, let's jump into this area right here that's called the choil. Yeah, that's really nice and smooth. We're gonna check the spine. That's perfect. The reason we want the choil really soft is because when you're gonna hold this knife, you're gonna hold it in what's called a pinch grip. That's your index finger and your thumb on either side. The middle finger goes underneath and you're gonna cut through your food. You're gonna process your food this way. So your middle finger is gonna be up here in the choil area and that's gonna get really calloused if it's rough. So that's why we spend a lot of time making sure it's nice and soft. Ditto for the spine. In that case, it's gonna be your index finger that gets calloused if we don't spend enough time rounding and softening it. So let's continue our inspection. So I'm gonna just check the cutting edge, make sure it's nice and even. It is beautiful. I already ran through my fingernail, but I usually do that a little bit later in the program. So let's do that again. Yep, so this is good. Let's check the tip flex. Perfect. Next, I'm gonna check straightness. This is the best way to check straightness. I put it down flat on a flat surface and I see if it pops up in either direction. And it doesn't. That's how we check for straightness. Okay, beautiful. What else do I need to do on this? That's the full inspect. Let's go through really quickly our care guide. So this is in your booklet. Everybody has this. It's the last page of your booklet. There are 8 steps here. I'm gonna just walk you through them very quickly. These are very important, but I wanna add a little bit of nuance to them, okay? So hand wash and dry immediately after use. Never use the dishwasher. Never use the dishwasher. I don't need to get into. It will destroy your handle. Please don't do it. If you do it, we may not actually be able to replace your handle because it creates a lot. It's complicated. I don't want to get into it, but basically you will ruin your handle if you put this knife in the dishwasher. Don't do it. Hand wash and dry immediately after use. That means if you're cutting through a roast, if you're cutting through whatever it is, look, 3 hours is too long. So you have, let's say, 30 minutes. I want you to wash these knives within 30 minutes of use, okay? So if you're cutting through a roast, like I mentioned, this is like our #1 thing that people give us feedback on is, hey, I just cut through a big roast and for some reason I'm having a little bit of patina or discoloration on the knife. So roasts have a lot of salt in them, right? So basically what winds up happening, and acid as well. So what happens is they're stripping the free chromium from the blade. That's not a problem because there's another free chromium layer directly underneath it. So you'll need to use a product like Shedazzle, that's my favorite product for removing rust or discoloration or patina. These knives don't rust in 99 point something percent of households, so long as you follow that basic principle of washing and drying immediately after use. Okay, number 2, avoid bones, frozen food, and ceramic. I've seen people cut on ceramic plates, don't do that. Cut on only on end grain wooden cutting boards or plastic cutting boards. Avoid bones, obviously, for several reasons. We wrote an entire blog post about how to make sure you don't destroy your edge. That's one of the things that people do. They'll cut through bones. This is not a cleaver. It is not designed to break bones. Use a big, thick, heavy-duty Chinese cleaver with like a 30-degree per side cutting edge, 60-degree inclusive, versus a 30-degree edge on this with a 15 thou cutting, behind the edge thickness. This is way too thin to do that kind of work with, so don't use this for that purpose. Okay, cut on wood or plastic cutting boards. I already mentioned that. Look, I don't want to go into all the details now. We've written a lot about this, like fairly extensively. Wood, especially end grain, is vastly superior to plastic for a variety of reasons. It's I think better than rubber also because it's self-healing and a variety of other things. As long as you maintain them, your wood board is going to last for ideally generations, and it's very easy to take off the top layer. You just sand it down with a random orbital sander. I would probably start at 120 grit and work my way up to no higher than 320. If you need to go to 400, great, go to 400, but you don't need to go any higher than that. So wooden cutting boards are just way better of a medium for processing your foods than plastic in most cases. That said, plastic has a place. It's great for animal proteins, okay? Number 4, use the knife's spine, not the edge, for food collection. So you've just been cutting up onions or whatever for your mirepoix for your soup. When you go to move the onion or whatever it is from your board to your mise en place bowl or into your saute pan or into your crock pot or whatever it is, use the spine of the knife, not the edge of the knife, to collect the food and move it into the bowl or whatever it is, because this is very thick and you're not going to damage it. This is thin. If you're scraping like this, you're going to ruin your edge very quickly. Number 5, food grade mineral oil. This rag is infused with food grade mineral oil. All I do is take my rag, rub it here, pop it onto the handle as well, and boom, that knife is brand spanking new and shiny. It's very sexy. Great product. I highly recommend it for cutting boards as well. Wooden ones, obviously not for plastic. Number 6, hone daily with a ceramic, not a steel honing rod. I actually do not have a honing rod up here, so I apologize for that. So I have a whole video on the website on one of the wooden cutting board pair, somewhere on the education section. I'll find it and link it to you. I'm holding this upside down because if I hold it like this, it'll cut right into this. So you're going to basically move your knife nice and slow at an angle that's a bit wider than your edge through the ceramic honing rod. For home cooks, you don't need to do this every day. Once every 2 weeks, once a month is more than adequate. Professional chefs, once a day, once a week, whatever you're checking your edges often. So again, I'm holding this upside down, but now I'm holding it the right way. So you're going to just move, then I can't move it because it keeps digging in, so I'll hold it upside down still, just nice and slow along the edge, put it onto a surface. Don't do the Gordon Ramsay style like this. That's a recipe for disaster on a thin edge knife that just looks cool on TV. Don't do it. Okay, sharpen on whetstones or a belt grinder regularly. If you're into sharpening, you don't really need to hone on a ceramic rod. I prefer my little work sharp right here. This tool is my little touch-up tool at home. It's very simple. I think it's worth the $200 if you've got a lot of knives. If you don't, you can get the downgraded version. It's not downgraded. It's just like not the non-upgraded version, I guess. It doesn't have the exact same setup, but it's a phenomenal piece of equipment. $150. It's better than any of the Trizors or any of the cheap little handheld ones. And also the tumblers I wrote all about this. Don't get them. It's not worth it, I don't think. If you're going to use stones, those cheap stones, cheap actually isn't that important. The standard aluminum oxide stones are not the ones I would get. The reason for that is aluminum oxide is not as a high Rockwell of an abrasive as silicon carbide, which is not as tough, or not as hard, as diamond. So My recommendation for low grit sharpening and repair work, silicon carbide at 220 to 320 grit. And then for higher grit, medium grit type work, I would use diamond, or if you want, use diamond all throughout. It's gonna make your sharpening way, way faster. Again, that's if you're stone sharpening for a blade steel like Elmax. Okay, number 8, this is how you store your knife. There's 2 ways. Where's the sheath here? Okay, here it is. So when I'm storing this knife, I'm matching the AR on the knife and the AR on the sheath. 2 reasons for that. Number 1, it creates friction because the top of this is thinner, the bottom of this is thicker, which is the inverse of the actual knife blade. So it creates friction so it doesn't fall out. Number 2, the bottom of this has a leather welt, an extra piece of leather, so you're not gonna cut right through it. The top does not. It will fit in upside down. I do not recommend this, but it will slip right out and it can also cut right through here. So just remember, match up the AR and the AR on the knife, on the sheath with the knife. The other option that I recommend for everybody is using a wooden magnet. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put the knife on spine first and then rotate it. And then it's gonna stick to the magnet as long as it's got really good neodymium magnets in there. To take it off, you rotate the edge off first and then pull it off. You never wanna hit the blade up against the magnet. Okay, that's it for the QC inspection. Let me just go through this little booklet that comes with all of your packets. So first page is gonna be like me saying thank you, basically. Second page is our guarantee. This is our 10,000 cuts guarantee. It's essentially what we call our 100-day, no questions asked return policy. If you don't love your knife within 100 days, well, you're crazy, but we've had less than a handful of returns, literally less than 5 returns in 6 years in business. If you're gonna be the 5th, that's totally fine. We won't ask any questions other than to try to figure out what we can do better. But this warranties and guarantees of the product is you're gonna love it. And if you have any problems with it, just send it right back to us. We'd love it if you tagged us on Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media platform you use. It's super helpful to us to show other clients. And then on this page right here, we have our little referral program. So you get $20 for every friend you refer. That's just cash that goes right back to your your method of payment, and then your friends will receive 10% off. Okay, so this is just our way of saying, look, if you love your product, and you wanna help us grow the way that we grow, we don't spend any money on ads. We just we ask for people to if they love it, to tell their friends. Then this is the best way that you can help us out, and we sincerely appreciate it. And then finally, you've got our little quick care guide. That's the 8 steps. Oh, and I forgot to mention, on this little page, you've got your little customized code right there. It's going to be highlighted in yellow and or pink. So that's it. I appreciate it. Thank you again. I apologize that I didn't make this an individualized video. That's what we normally try to do, but I've got, like almost 100 knives to get out the door today, or today and tomorrow. So I appreciate your understanding, and thank you so much for your business. Please tell your friends. Okay.